Hey everyone, we've got Peter here today. We're going to go over our Glucoferrin 101. So Peter, why don't you start off and let us know who you are, what you do, and then we'll start getting into what Glucoferrin is.
Okay, so my name is Piotr Slowinski, Peter Slowinski. I'm the owner of Phoenix Creative Nutraceutical, the company, Glucoferrin company, and I develop a product called Glucoferrin. Glucoferrin is the first actually nutraceutical patented product which provides a perfect sequence of 708 amino acids, sulfur-bonded, and it's exactly a matching sequence that is provided in mother nursing milk for the baby to develop once baby is born. And this formula, it's formulated in special way, which means it's a nutraceutical pharmaceutical grade, which completely makes it different than most of the products, because most of the proteins are not made pharmaceutical grade because this first thing is too complicated, and also they are too expensive methods. So that's what makes it completely separate, league of glucoferrin. Secondarily, its absorption and also multiple functions. So just by basically explaining about glucoferrin has certain functions like mother's milk, which is actually available right now for the children or adults to actually get the benefits of it. And it's also in therapeutic strength and dose, which means it will perform every day with the same strength, stability, and performance without any side effects. Okay, so that's a very important thing. So it's safe to take for everybody. Glucoferrin was designed on premise to help people actually to regulate and increase insulin potency and deal with insulin resistance, which is a precursor to diabetes and all metabolic disorders or abnormalities, which I rather prefer to say it. And that was actually established, and that line led me to start to establish where is actually the problem of insulin resistance, which led me to the red blood cells formation, hemoglobin, because insulin is actually hormone with transport and is a bridge transporting glucose, oxygen, nitrogen, and sulfur actually from the hemoglobin A1C, which is known for the diabetic testing, to the cellular level. And this function of the transport is called insulin resistance. So the whole base was to establish why that's happening, and the whole culprit of everything, it starts also in the main feeding mechanism of the human body, which we have the one and only red blood cells in hemoglobin. And hemoglobin, it has to be produced the moment the baby is born. When we leave our mother's body, the baby has to develop an adaptive immune system from innate system, and it has basically 48 hours to create a perfect bone marrow function, red blood cell formation, hemoglobin formation. So red blood cells are the cells of the body. 80% of our bone marrow, it's made out of red blood cells, and they are structured based on amino acids. And it has to be 708 amino acids and sulfur bonded, and to start to create hemoglobin. Then hemoglobin is a component and molecule of red blood cells, which the main function is the feeding rest of the body and the tissue, every single cellular development of the baby or the adult, ongoing life requests that actually hemoglobin is delivering oxygen and nitrogen, glycogen, and other components of the healthy life and stability. And at the same time, it regulates iron, and that's what led me to glucoferrin, because iron is the main component of the hemoglobin. And if iron is properly regulated or metabolized, it will perform the perfect formation of red blood cells. And very important is their longevity and also strength and potency. All the abnormalities with the red blood cells create all kinds of problems in the body because they have two different things happening to them. The first thing, they don't have the potency because they don't have a right shape, which is called hemoglobin. It's a perfectly round shape and it's made from amino acids. Secondarily, they don't last 120 days. And 120 days is crucial because in human body, 120 days is exactly replication, degradation process of red blood cells to create the new ones, and so on from the moment we are conceived to the moment we die. So glucoferrin is basically iron binding, sequestering, and chelating protein. And at the same time, it stands for glucose tolerance factor, GT, GTF. So this is a multiple application. The GTF is the actually name for the glucose tolerance factor. We also would like to call this glucose transport factor to make it easy to understand. And this is exactly what potentiates insulin during the transfer from hemoglobin, oxygen, and glycogen to the cells. The GTF, it's crucial component to help insulin to become strong and stable to provide a feeding mechanism. If that feeding mechanism is disrupted, that would create cellular decay. Cellular decay turns in inflammation, and then we have an inflammatory condition of the cell, different cells in the body, and we start to have whether it's an organ or system in the body, inflammatory condition, which we refer to as a metabolic abnormalities.
Wow. Okay. So can you tell me a little bit about, I know that you've recently received a patent. So can you tell me about what that process is like and what that actually really means?
Okay. So patent was received for support and formation of red blood cells and hemoglobin as a nutraceutical product in pharmaceutical grade, which means that I have the special formulation, basically a recipe, to create a glucose tolerance factor and protein which supports replication and stability ultimately to the red blood cells and hemoglobin in our bone marrow. The patent also means that it's also patented for pharmaceutical grade production. And that's what makes it completely different than any other protein, because to my knowledge, there is no other protein which is actually completed 708 amino acids, sulfur-bonded, pharmaceutically designed to actually be produced in that technology, which makes it very stable and accurate for daily application. And we can actually see a therapeutic influence. Instead, most of the protein, as we know, they're strictly in the food grade, which means they're very good source as a food, but you can never expect any correction of any abnormalities in the human body because there are stability in structure and performance and functionality.
Okay. And just one last question. So when it comes to like the safety and research, yeah, can you just tell us like the safety studies and research that's backed all of this?
Well, first thing, glucoferrin is a part of lactoferrin. Okay, lactoferrins refer in the world of science as a miracle protein. There's the protein which makes basically difference in the baby life. Okay, and lactoferrin, it's come from colostrum, and everybody is familiar with colostrum. But if you want to call colostrum, it's a very primitive way of describing proteins. It's the first actually batch of proteins from mother's milk or mammalian species, but it's very not complex, and it's also not stable that it can actually have a strength to be used therapeutically. It's very good as a food source, but you cannot actually apply for any type of metabolic abnormalities because it does not have performance and therapeutic dose and also strength, which comes from the recipe and the production methods, which are specially designed by me and biochemists, which I work with for many, many years. Mm-hmm. And the safety, it's 100% safe. There's no side effects, okay? It has total produced by the manufacturer, which specializes in pharmaceutical grade products, and the manufacturer is FDA approved. So the product is very, very safe and at the same time stable. And there is no side effects whether you take this from the child or the adult or even for pregnant women. And we have never actually have any reactions to it or anything, people prohibits from taking on a daily basis.
Well, that is amazing. Absolutely. Really appreciate you being here today. So if anyone that's watching this wants to reach out to Peter, we're going to put his information in the comments. And if you guys have any questions, feel free to reach out.